The cargo ship drifted slowly toward the great ringed planet called Vesper. Its surface shone with pale light, and its enormous rings glowed against the stars. Inside the small ship sat Sam, a human pilot who had been traveling from colony to colony for years. He was not a soldier, not a hero, only a worker who moved goods between worlds. His ship was old and noisy, but it was his only companion in long journeys. On this day, things were not going as planned. One of his engines had failed during the jump, forcing him to make an emergency stop at Vesper's orbital station. Sam had been here before but never stayed long. Vesper was known for its crowded markets, strict rules, and the presence of the royal court that controlled much of the planet's trade. For Sam, it was simply a place to repair his ship and continue his work. When he landed at the dock, the smell of fuel and metal filled the air. Robots moved crates, traders shouted at each other, and bright banners hung from the ceilings. Sam walked down the ramp, stretching his arms after long hours in the cockpit. He was planning to find a repair crew, pay them with the few credits he had, and leave as soon as possible. But fate had a different plan. Not far from the docks, a crowd had gathered around the main walkway. Children were running and laughing, weaving between vendors and guards. Among them, a small child climbed onto a metal platform that was clearly unsafe. The bolts were loose, and the surface shook with every step. Sam noticed it instantly. His eyes caught the trembling of the platform, and his heart jumped. "Hey, kid, get down from there," he shouted, moving closer. The child did not hear him. The platform groaned loudly, then snapped. People gasped as the metal began to fall. Without thinking, Sam sprinted forward. His body moved before his mind had time to plan. He threw himself under the falling piece, pushing the child aside and shielding them with his own back. The platform crashed, scattering dust and sparks. Sam felt the sharp sting of pain on his arm, but the child was safe. The crowd cheered and clapped. Traders patted Sam on the shoulder, and the child's parents thanked him with tears in their eyes. For Sam, it was nothing unusual. He had always believed that if someone could help, they should. To him, it was natural. But to the people of Vesper, this simple act of courage was not common. Standing at the edge of the crowd was Nira, a young woman dressed in shimmering robes that reflected the station's light. She was no ordinary citizen. Nira was the princess of Vesper, daughter of the regent who ruled in the name of the absent queen. Unlike other royals, she often walked among the people, curious about their lives. She had seen many acts of skill, strength, and wealth, but what she had just witnessed was something else. She studied Sam carefully. His clothes were simple, his hair untidy, his ship behind him old and rusted. He was not rich or powerful. Yet he had risked himself for a child he did not even know. Nira felt something stir inside her, something she could not ignore. Later that evening, as Sam returned to check on his ship, he found the same princess waiting near the dock. Two guards stood behind her, but she waved them back. She stepped forward with a calm grace that made the air feel heavier. "You are human," she said softly, her voice carrying both command and curiosity. Sam nodded. "That's right. I am just a pilot, nothing special." Nira tilted her head. "You are wrong. Today you showed a kind of strength that many here do not understand. You acted without waiting for reward or honor. I have seen many warriors who claim to be brave, but they act only for glory. You are different." Sam frowned, unsure how to answer. "I just did what anyone should do." "That is why you stand apart," Nira said. Then, without hesitation, she spoke the words that silenced even her guards. "Tell me what I must do to be your wife, human." Sam blinked in shock. He thought he had heard wrong. "Excuse me. I am Nira, Princess of Vesper," she continued. "I have watched my people and my court. I have listened to their promises and their lies. Yet today, in a single moment, you showed me more truth than all of them combined. I want to join with someone who acts from the heart, not from ambition. Tell me what I must do, and I will do it." The dock workers froze. Whispers spread quickly. A royal asking a human to be her husband was unheard of. Some laughed nervously, others gasped in disbelief. The guards looked uneasy, as if they were unsure whether to stop her or protect her. Sam raised his hands, his face turning red. "Wait, wait. Princess, I think you've made a mistake." "I am not. You are not a mistake," Nira interrupted. Her eyes shone with strange determination. "You are human, and that is exactly why I ask. Our world has traditions, yes, but traditions grow stale when they do not welcome truth. You may not know it, but your presence here has already changed more than you realize." Sam felt the weight of dozens of eyes staring at him. He wanted to step back into his ship, close the hatch, and fly away. But his engine was broken, and even if it worked, something in Nira's voice rooted him to the spot. "I don't know what to say," he admitted. "Say nothing," Nira replied. "Only listen. If you wish, I will show you our customs. If you are willing, you may take part in our rites. If you succeed, the court will have no choice but to accept you. If you fail, then I will carry the shame, not you. But I will not take back my words." The dock went quiet. Then the whispers grew louder, turning into a storm of voices. News of the princess's proposal was already racing through the market. Merchants would talk, nobles would hear, and soon the entire palace would know. Sam's head spun. He had arrived at Vesper only to fix his ship. Now, somehow, he stood in the center of a story that could shake an entire world. Nira looked at him, her expression calm but her eyes burning with hope. "So, human pilot, will you listen to me? Will you walk with me and see what the rights demand?" Sam hesitated. His instincts told him to refuse, to avoid trouble. But another part of him, the same part that had pushed him under the falling platform to save a child, whispered that this was not something he could simply walk away from. At last, he sighed. "All right, princess. I'll listen." Nira smiled for the first time, a smile that lit her face like a star. "Then our journey begins." And with that, Sam realized that his life had changed forever. What had started as a broken engine and a simple rescue had turned into something far greater, something he could not yet understand. The people around them bowed as Nira turned, gesturing for Sam to follow. The guards exchanged uneasy glances but did not stop them. Sam glanced one last time at his ship. The old craft had carried him across many worlds, but now it seemed like a cage compared to the unknown path that lay ahead. As he followed Nira into the bright corridors of the station, he felt both fear and excitement. He was stepping into a world of strange customs, dangerous politics, and expectations far beyond his reach. But he also felt something else. Deep inside, he knew that this moment, this choice, would echo far beyond Vesper's shining rings. For now, he walked beside the princess who had chosen him, not as a subject or a servant, but as something far more impossible. Sam had never walked in a palace before. The orbital station's grand halls stretched like rivers of light. Tall windows revealed the glowing planet below, and wide banners of silver cloth hung from the ceilings. Every surface reflected a mixture of beauty and power. Beside him, Nira moved with calm steps. Her robe shimmered as if it held starlight. People bowed as she passed, but their eyes often drifted toward Sam, filled with confusion and suspicion. A human walking beside the princess was not something they expected. Sam felt their stares but tried to keep his face steady. He reminded himself he was just a cargo pilot. His ship was waiting in the dock, broken and old. Yet somehow he was now walking behind royalty, following her into a world that was not his. When they reached a quiet chamber, Nira motioned for the guards to stay outside. The chamber was smaller than the grand hall, lined with shelves of glowing books and carved stone seats. "You may sit," Nira said, her voice softer now. Sam sat on the edge of the stone bench. He looked around, then back at her. "Princess, I don't understand what is happening. I came here for repairs. I am no prince or warrior. Why bring me here?" Nira lowered her head slightly. "Because truth is rare. You may not believe me, but I have seen the courts filled with men and women who bow only to gain power. Today I saw something different. You saved a child without asking who they were. That is the kind of strength I wish beside me." Sam shook his head. "Strength? I just reacted. Anyone would." Her eyes fixed on him. "No. Not anyone." Before he could answer, the chamber door opened. An older woman entered, her posture straight and her hair bound tightly. Her robes were plain but elegant, and her expression sharp. "Nira," she said firmly, "you must explain this to me at once." Sam stood awkwardly. He guessed this was no ordinary visitor. "This is Loma," Nira said. "She has been my tutor since childhood. She guides me in all matters of court and custom." Loma's eyes turned to Sam, studying him like a puzzle. "So this is the human you have chosen. I heard the whispers already. The market is full of the story. You have shocked the court, child." Nira answered calmly, "Then let them be shocked. I have made my choice." Loma's gaze narrowed. "Choices are not so simple. If this man is to walk your path, he must face the rights. Without them, the council will never allow it." Sam frowned. "Rights? What kind of rights?" "They are the trials of our people," Loma said. "For centuries, those who wish to join the royal line have faced them. They test not the body alone but the spirit. Endurance, honesty, service to others, and loyalty. Only through these can one be accepted." Sam let out a slow breath. "I am not trained for any of that. I'm just a pilot." "Then you must learn," Nira said. Her voice carried a quiet fire. "If you agree, I will guide you. Loma will instruct you in our customs. You will not be alone." Sam rubbed his forehead. "Princess, I don't even know why I should agree. Your world, your rules, your throne. I don't belong here." Loma folded her arms. "That is the question you must answer for yourself. If you walk away, the matter ends. If you stay, you must prove yourself. But know this, many will want you to fail. They will not welcome a human so close to the crown." The weight of her words pressed on him. Sam looked at Nira, who was waiting quietly, her eyes steady and filled with expectation. At last, he said, "I'll try. I don't promise I'll pass, but I'll try." Nira's face lit with relief. Then it begins. The days that followed were unlike anything Sam had ever known. Each morning, Loma arrived with scrolls and tablets filled with symbols Sam struggled to read. She taught him the Vespran language, its flowing words and layered meanings. At first, he stumbled and mispronounced, but Nira often laughed softly and helped him repeat the sounds until he managed. "You learn quickly," Nira encouraged. Sam smiled weakly. "I'm not so sure. Yesterday I asked for water and instead offered the guard a hammer." Nira laughed again, the sound light and clear. Even Loma's stern face softened for a moment. In the afternoons, Sam joined tasks among the common people. Loma explained that service was part of the rites. It was not enough to speak like a Vespran. He had to work among them, to understand their lives. So Sam carried supplies for builders repairing damaged walkways. He helped traders stack crates in the market. At night, he joined groups who delivered food to distant quarters. He worked with sweat and sore muscles, yet something about it felt right. The people began to greet him not with suspicion but with cautious respect. One evening, as he rested after long hours, Nira sat beside him. "You are not like the others who seek power," she said. Sam shrugged. "That's because I don't seek power. I just fix engines and move cargo. But if these rites are the only way to prove I am not here to cause harm, then I'll do them." Nira looked thoughtful. "Perhaps that is why I trust you. You do not see this as a prize. You see it as a duty." But not everyone was pleased. In the palace council, whispers grew louder. Some nobles feared that a human near the throne would weaken tradition. Others worried it would open the way for outsiders to influence Vesper's politics. Among them was Lord Riven, a tall man with sharp eyes and a smile that never reached his lips. Riven spoke to his allies in secret chambers. "The princess cannot be allowed to disgrace us. A human cannot stand in our court. If the rites are the path, then we must ensure he stumbles." His allies nodded, plotting quietly. Back in the training halls, Loma tested Sam's patience with endless lessons. She placed him in debates where he had to speak truth without anger. She asked him to stand still while insults were spoken, forcing him to practice calm. She made him carry heavy stones across long corridors to test endurance. Sam struggled, but he refused to quit. Each night, he fell into his bed exhausted, yet each morning he rose again. He remembered the child he had saved on his first day here. If he could protect one life, maybe he could honor this chance too. One day, as Sam helped repair a broken water system in the lower quarters, a group of children gathered around. They asked him about Earth, about human ships, about stars beyond their reach. Sam told simple stories about his journeys, about fixing engines with little more than tape and luck, about nights when the stars seemed so close he could touch them. The children laughed and clapped, their eyes wide with wonder. For them, the human was not a stranger anymore. He was someone real, someone who shared his world openly. Nira watched from a distance, her heart swelling with pride. She saw not just a man learning their customs, but a bridge between worlds. Yet the storm was coming. Late one night, Sam returned to his chamber to find a message carved into the wall. The letters were sharp and dark. "Leave now, human, or you will not survive the rites." Sam stared at it for a long time. He felt a cold weight in his chest, but he did not run. Instead, he wiped the message away before Nira could see it. The next day, he carried on with his training as if nothing had happened. Inside, though, he knew the truth. Someone wanted him gone, and the rites would not be a fair path. But he also knew something else. If he quit now, he would prove them right. If he stayed, even against the odds, he might prove something greater. So he tightened his fists, lifted his chin, and kept walking forward. The first trial was coming soon, and the eyes of the entire planet would be watching. The day of the first trial arrived with heavy clouds drifting across the skies of Vesper. Bells rang in the great city below, calling people to witness the beginning of the rites. For centuries, only nobles and chosen suitors had faced these trials. Never before had a human stood among them. That fact alone had drawn hundreds to the arena. Sam stood in the center of the great courtyard. Tall arches rose above him, carved with symbols of truth and honor. Crowds filled the high seats. Traders, workers, soldiers, and nobles gathered to watch. Some cheered him, others whispered against him, but all were curious. Beside him stood Nira, her presence calm but strong. She wore plain robes this time, not the royal silks, as a sign that she supported him not as a princess above him, but as his equal. Loma, the tutor, stood near the council table where the judges sat. Her face was stern, yet her eyes carried a flicker of trust. The lead judge, an elder with silver skin patterns across his cheeks, lifted a staff. His voice carried across the courtyard. Sam of Earth, you have chosen to face the rites. Know that these trials are not games. They reveal truth. If you pass, the council must accept you. If you fail, you will depart in shame. Do you understand? Sam bowed his head. I understand. The elder struck the staff against the stone floor. Then let the first trial begin. The first trial, empathy. From the gates of the courtyard, two groups of citizens entered. They were neighbors from the lower districts. Their faces were hard, and their voices already angry. These families have quarreled for years, the elder explained. They have accused each other of theft, of betrayal, of dishonor. Many before you have tried to settle their dispute, and none have succeeded. Your task is simple: bring peace between them without force. Sam's heart raced. He was no diplomat. He fixed engines, he carried cargo. But here, all eyes were on him. The first group shouted that the other had stolen water rations. The second shouted back that the first had cheated them in trade. Their words rose higher and higher until the courtyard rang with noise. Sam raised his hands. Stop. Please. His voice was firm, not loud, but steady. Slowly, the groups quieted. He looked at them carefully. You are all angry because you feel cheated. Maybe both sides have reasons. But look around you. You are not enemies from different stars. You are neighbors. If you keep fighting, your children will suffer more than anyone. They muttered, but did not walk away. Sam thought quickly. He pulled a small wrench from his belt, the one tool he always carried. On my ship, when two parts are broken, they can fight each other. The engine shakes, the ship suffers. But if you fix one without the other, the ship still fails. You must fix both sides at once. He handed the wrench to a child standing near the two groups. Let this tool pass between you. Use it as a promise. When something breaks, you repair it together. If one family cheats, the other may take the tool until balance is restored. If you both care for the tool, you both prove your honesty. The crowd whispered at the simple idea. The two families hesitated, then the child walked forward and held the wrench up. Slowly, both groups placed their hands on it. The judge struck the staff. The first trial is complete. The crowd erupted in cheers. Sam let out a deep breath. He had no idea if the peace would last, but at least for today, he had turned anger into agreement. The second trial, ingenuity. The next trial came quickly. Sam was led into a wide chamber filled with machinery and rubble. A voice echoed from hidden speakers. This trial will test your ability to adapt. Before you lies a collapsed habitat. Inside are lives represented by sensors. You have 1 hour to save as many as you can. You may only use what is in this room. Sam scanned the chamber. Broken pipes, shattered walls, scattered tools, and flickering lights surrounded him. He remembered long nights in his ship when he had patched fuel leaks with nothing but tape and spare cloth. He knew he could not rebuild the whole structure, but maybe he could make it safe enough. He started with the largest broken pipe. Steam hissed out, dangerous to anyone trapped inside. Sam tore strips from his own shirt, wrapped them around the leak, and tied them tight. It held for now. Next, he found a bent metal sheet. He dragged it across the floor and propped it against a cracked wall, blocking falling rubble. Sweat dripped from his face, but he kept moving, sealing gaps, shoring up supports, and rerouting power lines. The crowd watched in silence as he worked with speed and creativity. When the hour ended, lights above turned green. The sensors inside the habitat glowed, showing that most of the lives had been saved. The elder's voice rang out again. The second trial is complete. The human has shown ingenuity beyond expectation. Cheers filled the chamber. Sam dropped onto the floor, exhausted but relieved. Nira rushed to his side and helped him stand. You see, she whispered with pride. You find answers where others see only walls. The third trial, loyalty. The next day brought the most dangerous test of all. Sam stood again before the council. The elder spoke, his tone sharp. For the final trial, you will face a choice. You will be offered freedom and safety if you renounce your path. If you take it, you may leave unharmed. If you refuse, you will continue, but you will also carry the risk of disgrace and danger. Choose carefully, for your decision will mark you forever. The crowd went quiet. Sam understood what they meant. They wanted to test if he was here only for his own gain. The council offered him a document. It was a formal promise of safe passage off Vesper. With it, he could walk away, return to his ship, and never face their politics again. Sam stared at the paper. His heart pulled in two directions. Leaving would mean safety. He would never face the nobles who hated him, never risk failure. But it would also mean abandoning Nira, and abandoning the trust of those who had begun to believe in him. He lifted his head. I will not take this. I will not walk away. The elder frowned. Why? Sam's voice was steady. Because I did not come here to seek power. I came here by accident. But since that day, I have seen how much this means to Nira, and to your people. If I leave now, I prove I was only playing a part. If I stay, even if I fail, I prove that I stand for something real. So I stay. The crowd roared with approval. Nira's eyes shone with pride. The elder struck the staff. The third trial is complete. The human has chosen loyalty. But not everyone cheered. Lord Riven sat in the shadows of the council chamber, his lips thin with anger. His plan had been to see the human humiliated. Instead, Sam had passed each trial. Riven clenched his fists. If the rites were completed, the council would have no excuse to deny him. That night, Riven summoned his allies. The human cannot be allowed to succeed. If the trials will not defeat him, then we must. Dark plans began to move in secret, ready to strike before the final decision could be declared. Sam, however, knew nothing of this. After the trials, he walked with Nira through the quiet gardens of the palace. The sky above glowed with the pale light of Vesper's rings. "You did more than pass today," Nira said softly. "You showed my people that truth can come from beyond our walls. You gave them hope." Sam shook his head. "I only did what I knew. I don't know if I deserve all this." "You deserve more than you think," she said. For a moment, the noise of the city seemed far away. Sam felt a strange peace in her words, though he knew the path ahead would not be simple. The council had yet to decide, and enemies were already working against him. Still, as he stood beside Nira in the garden, he felt something he had not felt in years: belonging. The night sky above Vesper glowed with a pale silver light from its giant rings. The city below slept uneasily. Rumors of a human who had passed the trials spread quickly, and not everyone welcomed the change. In a shadowed chamber of the palace, Lord Riven whispered with his allies. "The trials have been completed. The council is ready to approve the union. But that human is dangerous. If he reaches the throne, our traditions will crumble. We must act before it is too late." His allies nodded, each face serious. They planned a strike to eliminate both Sam and Nira. Their target was not only the couple but also the legal documents that would confirm the rights. If these papers were destroyed, the union could be voided, and chaos would follow. Meanwhile, Sam trained in the palace gardens. He had learned more about Vespran culture, their history, and their expectations. He had grown accustomed to Nira's presence, and he trusted her guidance. Yet he could feel tension in the air, a quiet unease that told him something was approaching. Nira joined him quietly. "I sense it too," she said. "Some do not accept the trials. Some do not accept you." "I know," Sam said, tightening his fists. "I am ready for whatever comes." Nira placed her hand on his shoulder. "You have faced the trials with courage. That will carry you through tonight." The attack began just after midnight. Shadows moved through the palace corridors, silent and fast. The attackers carried advanced weapons, designed to breach doors and disable defenses quickly. Their target was the archives, where the documents that confirmed Sam's success and the Union were stored. Sam was alerted by the alarm system, a faint red light that blinked in his quarters. He immediately ran toward the archives, accompanied by a small team of loyal guards and palace workers he had befriended during his service trials. "Stay close," he whispered. "We need to reach the documents before they do." The corridors were dark, lit only by small emergency lights. Shadows moved ahead, and Sam could hear soft metallic sounds of weapons and footsteps. He remembered his lessons, not only from Loma but also from experience in faraway cargo bays. Improvisation was key. As they reached the archives, the first line of attackers appeared. Sam and his small team took cover behind crates and consoles. The attackers fired, but Sam dodged quickly, using his smaller frame and fast thinking. He picked up a broken metal rod and swung it to block one of the intruders, knocking them backward into a pile of crates. The team followed his lead, using crates and equipment to create barriers. Sam noticed a series of exposed energy lines along the floor, which the attackers had not seen. He quickly rerouted them to trigger a small warning spark that forced one attacker to retreat. "Keep moving," Sam shouted. "The documents are this way." Nira, meanwhile, had organized the palace citizens who were able to fight. She led them to guard the courtyard and secondary exits. Her voice was calm but commanding. The people responded to her, inspired by her combination of discipline and courage. Inside the archives, Sam moved swiftly. Shelves of glowing scrolls and tablets towered around him. He spotted the documents confirming his trials. A small energy barrier protected them. Sam examined it quickly. The barrier was designed to shut down with a code, but he noticed a loose panel nearby. Using his tools, he bypassed the panel and deactivated the barrier. He grabbed the documents just as the attackers reached the door. One lunged at him, and Sam dodged, using a roll to the side he had practiced during his training. He caught the intruder off balance and pushed them into a stack of crates. "Go!" Sam shouted to his team. "Take the documents to the courtyard." In the courtyard, chaos had erupted. Nira and the citizens formed a protective circle. Some fired basic energy nets to slow the attackers, others blocked entrances with carts and debris. The attackers had weapons, but the defenders had courage and strategy. One of the intruders spotted Sam carrying the documents. They ran toward him, but Nira was already moving. She grabbed a long pole and swung it with precise timing, knocking the attacker off balance. Sam ran past her, feeling both relief and admiration. The crowd was inspired by their leader's bravery. Civilians who had never held weapons before now fought with purpose. They shielded the weak, blocked the strong, and worked together as one unit. Sam reached the center of the courtyard and handed the documents to the council guards. "These are the proofs," he said. "Secure them." The attackers, realizing their plan had failed, tried to retreat. Sam saw one aiming a weapon at a child who had wandered into the chaos. Without thinking, he leaped in front, taking the blast to his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he held the child behind him. Nira ran to his side, helping him steady himself. "You are hurt," she said, her voice full of concern. "I'm fine," Sam said, gritting his teeth. "We need to finish this." With the humans and Vesperans working together, the attackers were finally cornered. One by one, they were captured or forced to flee. Lord Riven's plan had failed. When the fighting ended, the courtyard was filled with quiet. Smoke from broken lights and scattered debris hung in the air. Citizens and guards helped each other up. Sam's shoulder was bandaged by palace medics, who praised him for his bravery. The council elders gathered, their faces serious but impressed. The lead judge, the same elder who had overseen the trials, stepped forward. "You have not only passed the trials," he said to Sam, "but you have also shown courage in the face of real danger. You have protected lives, both human and Vesperan. That is a quality no document can measure. You have proven yourself beyond the rights." Nira smiled at Sam, pride shining in her eyes. "You were brave, Sam. I knew you could do it." Sam shook his head, exhausted but smiling. "I only did what I had to. You and the people inspired me." Lord Riven was forced to face the council. His schemes exposed, his allies arrested, he had no choice but to step back. The union between Sam and Nira could not be stopped. As dawn approached, the city below began to calm. The damage to the palace was repaired quickly with the help of citizens and loyal guards. Sam walked with Nira along the palace balcony. The silver rings of Vesper reflected in their eyes, bright and hopeful. "Tonight was the hardest thing I have ever done," Sam admitted. Nira took his hand. "And yet you stood firm. You faced danger, and you protected those who could not protect themselves." That is the mark of someone worthy, human or not. Sam smiled faintly. I think I understand now. It is not just about passing trials or following rules. It is about what you do when no one is watching, and what you do when everything is against you. Nira nodded. Exactly. That is why I chose you. Not because you are human, but because you are human and brave, and your heart acts with purpose. The two of them looked out over the city as the first light of Vesper's dawn painted the buildings and streets. For the first time, Sam felt truly part of something larger than himself. He had passed trials, faced enemies, and survived. But more than that, he had earned the trust and respect of a world that had once seemed so alien. And yet, he knew their journey was not over. There would be more challenges, more decisions, and more moments that would test their courage and loyalty. But standing there with Nira, he felt ready to face them all. The city below, once suspicious and divided, now looked at him not as a human outsider, but as someone who belonged. The palace, the people, and the council had all seen the truth of his character. And Sam knew, deep in his heart, that the next steps would bring him even closer to the life he had never imagined, a life alongside Nira, the princess who had chosen him, and a world that was slowly learning that courage and heart could come from beyond its own stars. The sun rose over Vesper, casting a soft silver light across the palace and the city below. After the chaos of the siege and the trials, the city seemed to breathe again. Markets opened with cautious energy, children ran along the streets, and citizens whispered of the human who had stood alongside their princess. Sam sat in the palace chamber, his shoulders still wrapped from the previous night's injuries. Despite the ache, he felt more awake than ever. He had faced tests that pushed him beyond anything he had imagined, yet here he was, alive, and standing stronger for it. Nira entered the chamber quietly, her robe glinting in the morning light. She carried herself with a calm dignity that made the room feel lighter. "You have not rested," she said softly. "I did not want to miss this day," Sam replied, standing to greet her. "It feels important." Nira smiled, moving closer. "It is the day when the council will formally recognize the rights. They will witness not only your trials but also your courage during the siege. Today is the day your bond with Vesper becomes official." The council chamber was filled with spectators. Nobles, citizens, and guards crowded together, waiting to witness the outcome. The tension was almost tangible. Sam's presence caused a ripple of whispers. Humans were rarely seen here, and a human being recognized as worthy of royal union was unheard of. Loma, standing beside Nira, gave Sam a nod of encouragement. "Remember what you have proven," she said. "Your actions speak louder than words. Show them the truth." Sam took a deep breath. He thought of the child he had saved, the families he had helped, and the citizens who had fought beside him. He remembered the trust Nira had placed in him. That trust gave him strength he had never known. The lead judge, the elder who had overseen the trials, stood at the front. He raised his staff, and silence fell over the chamber. "Sam of Earth," he began, his voice echoing in the great hall. "You have completed the trials, demonstrated ingenuity, loyalty, and courage. You have also faced a direct threat to your life and protected the citizens of the city. The council has witnessed your deeds and deliberated on your worthiness." He paused, letting the words sink in. The crowd remained silent, all eyes fixed on Sam. "The verdict is unanimous," the elder continued. "Sam has proven himself to be worthy. Not merely as a visitor or a foreigner, but as someone who stands for truth, honor, and the well-being of others. Therefore, the rights are recognized, and the union with Princess Nira is sanctioned by the council and the people. A wave of cheers erupted from the crowd. Sam felt a surge of relief, pride, and disbelief. He had passed every trial, faced danger, and earned recognition from an entire world. Nira stepped forward, her hand outstretched. Sam took it, feeling the warmth and certainty of her presence. The elder raised his staff once more. "Let this day mark not only a union of two beings but also a new covenant for Vesper," he said. "A covenant that values courage, compassion, and the strength of character above all else." The ceremony was simple yet powerful. Sam and Nira stood before the council and citizens. The ancient rites were recited, but this time, they reflected mutual respect rather than obligation. The words spoke of service, loyalty, and partnership. Sam listened carefully, feeling the weight and honor of the promises he was making. He was not promising to rule or dominate, but to support, to protect, and to grow alongside Nira. In return, she promised to honor his choices and value his perspective. When the final words were spoken, the crowd erupted in celebration. Citizens clapped, shouted, and waved. Even some of the previously skeptical nobles bowed respectfully. Sam and Nira exchanged a glance. In that moment, they both understood the significance of what they had accomplished, not just a union of two individuals, but a new understanding for an entire world. After the ceremony, the city embraced change slowly but surely. Sam walked through the streets with Nira, meeting citizens who had once doubted him. Many smiled, some bowed, and a few still whispered, but all acknowledged that he had earned his place. Sam and Nira visited neighborhoods that had been damaged during the siege. Together, they worked with builders and volunteers to repair homes and rebuild streets. Sam's skills as a pilot and his experience with machinery proved invaluable. He taught Vespran engineers some of his practical techniques, while learning their advanced methods in return. The collaboration brought the citizens closer together. Humans and Vesprans worked side by side, learning to trust each other. Children watched Sam and Nira as examples of courage, cooperation, and respect. The story of the trials, the siege, and the union spread throughout the city, becoming a lesson in bravery and human adaptability. Not all challenges disappeared. Some nobles still harbored resentment, fearing change. Lord Riven had been removed from the council, but his influence lingered among a few factions. However, Sam and Nira's union created a new standard. Decisions would now be based more on merit, honesty, and courage rather than solely on lineage or status. One afternoon, Sam and Nira stood on the palace balcony, looking out at the city below. Children played in the streets, citizens repaired damaged buildings, and the first signs of new markets and trade routes began to appear. "You've changed the city," Nira said softly. "I think we changed it together," Sam replied. Nira smiled. "Yes. And you've changed me as well. I have learned that courage is not always about strength or skill. It is about the heart, about standing for what is right even when it is difficult." Sam nodded. "And I've learned that leadership can come from trust, not fear. People follow those who respect them, not those who command them." Together, they watched as the city continued to grow, a symbol of unity and hope. Weeks turned into months. Sam and Nira spent time traveling through Vesper, visiting distant districts, and learning about the lives of ordinary citizens. Sam's practical skills helped improve water systems, transport routes, and energy distribution. Nira worked in the council, pushing reforms that valued adaptability, honesty, and service. They became symbols of a new era. Stories spread across neighboring planets and colonies about the human who had faced trials, defended a city, and earned the trust of an entire world. Humans were not just visitors or traders, they were capable of courage, creativity, and loyalty that could influence entire civilizations. Sam and Nira also nurtured their personal bond. They shared simple meals, laughed at mistakes, and faced challenges together. Their partnership became an example of mutual respect and cooperation, showing that differences could become strengths when approached with understanding. One evening, as the twin moons of Vesper rose, Sam taught a group of children how to repair small drones. They watched with wide eyes as he demonstrated how to fix broken motors, reroute power, and test controls. Nira observed quietly, smiling at the scene. She approached Sam and whispered, "You have given them more than skill. You have given them hope." Sam looked at the children, laughing and learning. "I hope they see that they can do more than they think. That mistakes are part of learning, and courage is part of living." Nira took his hand, and together they looked at the moons rising over the city. "This is only the beginning," she said. "Yes," Sam agreed. "But it feels like we are exactly where we belong." As years passed, the changes they had begun continued to grow. Vesper's citizens embraced reforms that valued honesty, service, and creativity. Humans visiting the planet were welcomed as allies and teachers rather than outsiders. The city thrived, not because of a single leader, but because courage, loyalty, and heart became the foundation of its culture. Sam and Nira's union became a story told to children. It was a story not of conquest or power, but of partnership, bravery, and the strength that comes from standing for others. Sam often remembered the day he had saved a child on the docks, realizing that small actions could ripple outward in ways no one could predict. Now, the ripples had reached across an entire world. The final scene was simple yet profound. Sam and Nira stood together on the palace balcony, watching children play, citizens work, and the city shine under Vesper's twin moons. The human who had arrived for a simple repair had become a symbol of courage, the princess who had reached beyond tradition had become a symbol of hope, and together they had shown the galaxy the power of heart, action, and unity. In the end, the trials, the siege, and the council's decision were only part of the story. The real achievement was the bond that had grown between worlds, the human and the Vespran who proved that courage, loyalty, and ingenuity were not bound to a single species. Vesper was changed, its people inspired, and its future bright. Sam and Nira's journey was complete, not because it had ended, but because it had begun a new era. And as the moons reflected on the city below, it was clear that a human's heart had left a permanent mark on Vesper, a mark that would endure for generations.